We've been in this country the longest, and we understand it the least. We are the true believers, as Dr. Henry Clark called us true. We are the true believers, which is something you would think would be a compliment, but it's truly a criticism. We are the true believers. We out Pope the Pope, and we out Muhammad. Meaning that when we get into some shit, ain't no such thing. We don't do shit halfway. You literally got black Muslims telling Arabs how to do Islam right. You got black Christians right now. You got black Christians all over this country. And bless their heart, the Poor People's Campaign. What's that guy's name? What's that reverend that runs the Poor People's Campaign? Modern version. What's his name? There he is. What's dude's name? Something wrong with dude. I gotta give him a shout out. Shout out to the Poor People's Campaign. Reverend Barber, that's him. Jesus. Reverend Barber, right? William Barber or Bill Barber, right? He is a reverend. Oh, thank you. I should look at it. So Reverend Barber, if you read his articles or if you listen to his interviews, he's always on Democracy Now! He's up here telling white people about true Christian values. He's up here now in the true Lord, the Spirit of Jesus, our Lord and Savior. Like, I can't believe we got black people out here telling white folks how to Christian, telling Arabs how to Islam, and telling Ashkenazim about what real Judaism is. Because we really be believing in shit. Now, the people who control, own, dictate, who impose that bullshit on you, they know it's bullshit. They'll build a whole cathedral, stained glass, and wear the robes and have the incense and the smoke. And they'll do the chants, the Gregorian chants. Oh. They'll sing, they'll call for prayer. Oh, it's Ramadan. They'll do all the shit on the surface, but deep down, the people who do this shit like, yeah, this is a hustle. This is a money thing. But we get into some shit. Get put, and we really believe and go start telling the people who told us how it works. We got black people out here talking about capitalism, telling white folks how to do capitalism. It's about hard work and sacrifice, investment, delayed gratification. We out here telling white folks how to do capitalism. And now we got black people telling white people what real democracy is. Oh, democracy, quoting the Constitution. Oh, nothing to break my heart more. Because I go and watch those cop watch things. Watching the police out here committing atrocities and how they do. So I go watch these things, and nothing breaks my heart more than when a black person gets pulled over and starts quoting the Constitution. I know my rights. Oh, it breaks my heart. As if a cop with racist, vicious intent is like, yeah, I'm going to get this guy. I know my rights. Oh, like that's going to flip a switch in that cracker's head. Shit is crazy. So we believe in shit that people teach us, not teach us. People impose on us, people through vicious, brutal colonization and unrelenting indoctrination. We get this shit in our heads, and we go hard in the paint. We go hard in the paint. And when the shit don't live, what did Martin Luther King's most favorite line is? It's not, I have a dream. It's he wants America to live up to the content of its creed. He said that he wants America to live up to the content of its creed. What the fuck does that mean? Content. He means he wants white people to do the shit that white people said they put on themselves. They ain't nobody force them. Like, bro, Diallo, I'm a vegan. Didn't nobody force me to be vegan. This is something I took on myself. And I go out to the world and tell everybody I'm vegan. Y'all know how obnoxious us vegans is. At least y'all believe we are. Even though you see 1,000,001 McDonald's and meat advertisements a day and it don't faze you. Pork, it's what the other white meat. Your whole life, got milk. You've literally, your whole goddamn life been subjected to aggressive, unrelenting meat and dairy propaganda. $billion advertising budgets. Your whole life, you can't drive one block you can't drive 1 mile on a U.S. highway or go anywhere within the city limits and not see an advertisement for some pork, some beef, some chicken, fishing, hunting, wildlife. And you don't even see it because it's like fish in the water. It's omnipresent. But the one time somebody's like, well, I'm vegan. Oh, y'all just putting your message out there. You just in everybody's face. Vegans are so obnoxious, man. Fuck you. But I digress. I'm vegan. Didn't nobody make me be vegan. I can stop being vegan tomorrow and go get me a delicious Reese's. That's the first thing, man. If I gave up on veganism, first thing I do is go buy like a 4-pack king size Reese's peanut butter. I ain't had a Reese's peanut butter cup, a real one, in 30 years. I think my last Reese's peanut butter cup was like 91, 92. I can't even taste it no more. I'm just going off the memories, right? And so let's say I go around, I got t-shirts and buttons, and every time I'm trying to tell people get off the swine and get refined. I'm trying to promote veganism to the hood. And ain't nobody making me do this. But secretly in my heart and mind, I'm eating meat. I'm drinking cow extinctions. I'm sucking the udder of a cow and biting the shoulder off a pig. I'm just a meat-eating glutton, right? And be like, yo, why even front? Nobody's forcing you to front. Why even lie? Why you ain't got to lie, Craig? You ain't got to even, what you lie for? Live up to the content of your creed. If you said you was vegan, do that. Can you just do what you said you was going to do? Can you follow the limitations you put on yourself? And if not, why the fuck you even front? Why do it? So Martin Luther King was like, listen, we weren't even human. When y'all wrote this shit down in your constitution, in your preamble, when you formed and forged the states, y'all's the one that said all men is created equal. Y'all the one that put forth democratic principles. Y'all the ones who forced into law freedom of speech and the ability to seek recourse. Y'all the one who forced into law a person to be secure in their property and effects. Y'all wrote this shit down. Didn't nobody. The Native Americans were on reservations going through genocide. Africans were on plantation, being subjected to daily brutality and being legally barred from seeking education. Y'all put this on y'all-self. This is y'all creed. And all I'm telling y'all to do, Martin Luther King's like, I'm not trying to tell y'all to do shit. From me, I'm not trying to make y'all do nothing. I'm just telling y'all to do what y'all said y'all was going to do, to follow what you said you was going to follow. Because black people believe more in American democracy and American principles. We've lived it out more than anyone else. Whenever there's been an opportunity to stand on American values, American principles, when you look at any type of historical event related to U.S. internal policy or U.S. foreign policy, by and large, the vast majority of black people, 80 to 90% of black people, have stood on the Constitution. When white folks was chomping at the bit saying, let's trash the Constitution, let's trash the Bill of Rights, let's go full steam ahead. And we black people been trying to teach white folks about white folks' business since we got here. We are the true believers. We are the true believers. If you want to go to the most Islamic state in the world, you can't go to Saudi Arabia, Pakistan, Iran. You want to see the most pious Islamic states? You got to go to Senegal. Can't even go to Egypt. Go to Senegal. You want to see some of the biggest Catholics, some of the most dedicated Catholics? Again, you got to go to Africa. Jehovah's Witness. Every time they bother to do this dumbass research, what demographic adheres closest to Christian values and principles? Church attendance, tithing, daily prayers and reflection. Black people are more religious and spiritual than the average white person. We are the true blood clot believers. So it's hard to talk politics with black people because black people, we believe it too much. Now, white folks know it's a game. They know it's a hustle. They know it's a scramble. White people go into politics not for the sake of justice, not for the sake of democracy, not because of their love and honor of the founding father. They go in to get what they got to get quick. What did MCA say? Get what you got to get quick and don't get gaffled in the mix. The white majority understands that if I don't get what I want from the government, then the government. But black people are like, well, I voted for something. You were elected and I didn't get it. I ain't voting no more. I ain't doing this. So the first thing I want the black community to do is to understand, to comprehend, to accept what U.S. politics truly are and what they're truly about. There was a guy, a lawyer, political commentator. He's off the air because he just rubbed some people the wrong way. But he said, politics in America is smash mouth football. You crush and run over your opponents and you hyper-focus on your goal. You hyper-focus on your goals and then you set out to crush your opponents. Now, I think black people, when you become oppressed, you must be radical. If you're radical and not oppressed, then you are an agent in your own oppression. It breaks my heart when I encounter black people who are not radical. And I think that we misunderstand radical. And for good reason. I totally understand why white people want to sully the term radical. So they think radical is something vacuous. It means you wear neon clothes and you listen to rock and roll. Radical, yeah, radical. They want to distort. Or radical is a bloodthirsty maniac. Right? But what is a radical? It means seed. It simply means to seek fundamental understanding. And your actions, you take actions to address and direct phenomenon from the core. That's all it means. The opposite of radical is surface or superficial. We cannot afford to just look at the surface. We cannot afford to be surface dwellers or bottom feeders. But the average white person can get away with it. You have the average white person in America. I pay my taxes. I go to work every day. I vote. I do. I'm just a good citizen. I'm a good person. I don't bother anybody. No one should bother me. We can't afford to do that. Do you, player? White folks are not under genocidal oppression. Now, white folks got some serious issues. I'm telling white folks, boy, they don't know their history. Y'all think y'all Anglo-Saxons, descendants of royal family. Y'all, and I think it's crazy that black people get called out for saying we kings and queens. And we completely ignore these white folks' delusions. And, I had a poor white dude. It was cool. I was cool. I used to do theater. Very talented dude. We used to do community theater together. And he actually quit theater before me. But anyway, just a poor Irish dude. Ain't come from nothing. The family came here escaping famine. And they came here and struggled and literally lived in the slums until the GI Bill let his grandfather, I think it was his grandfather, go to college. And then they got some housing vouchers. And, they came up on welfare. This conservative Irish family came from famine, slums, and then welfare helped them. You let them tell it. They brought themselves up by their bootstraps. They came here and elevated through hard work and sacrifice, right? But he had a family crest. This broke ass, busted ass white dude. No offense, but he's like, this is my family crest. And I'm like, dude, let me tell you something. You didn't have no goddamn family crest. I know the history of white people. What happened was your father came here escaping famine, or your great-great-grandfather came here running from famine with his ass on fire. And when he got here, he went to a dime store. He went to some antique store and was like, well, I'm in a new country. Might as well reinvent myself. I'm nothing but a dirt farmer. I'm an illiterate dirt farmer, but now I'm in a whole new system. And before I was in a hierarchical system, I was at the bottom of the hierarchy because it was a hierarchy based on lineage, on birth. But now I'm in a hierarchy that's based on race. And by default, I was born into, just like the little prince is born into wealth, I'm born into whiteness. And so he went out and bought this weird ass looking fucking Irish Gaelic crest thing and was like, this is our family crest from the fatherland. Or Ireland. And then his family carrying this piece of dime store, nothing around. And so all I'm saying is, black people ain't the only people that got these delusions about where we come from, kings and queens. White folks got the same delusion. These white folks thinking they WASP, Anglo-Saxons. When they ain't Anglo, they ain't Saxons. What did Dr. John Henry Clark say? Europe flushed its toilet and the human refuse spilled out onto the rest of the world. Sorry. Okay, so radicalism. But what I was saying is white folks can believe those delusions and thrive off of those delusions because they're not under genocidal oppression. Delusions are a luxury that should only be afforded to people who are not under immediate distress. If you are under oppression, then delusion is not a luxury you can afford. You cannot afford delusions because black people, our delusions harm us, whereas white folks' delusions can sometimes help them. So this nonsense about master race, you got 80 million white people that believe that Trump is a savior, as opposed to just being a petty con man. Black people, we can't afford to do that shit. We couldn't afford that with Obama. We never recover. I once had a dude. The guy was really smart, but he always struggled. Dude did everything he's supposed to do. Went to college, got a college degree, did everything he's supposed to do, but for some reason, everything he did failed. He wanted to go into stocks and shit and lost all his money in the stock market, day trading back in the day, just everything. And then he went into like several pyramid schemes, really. He always felt that he was a great man and he should have great abundance, but he was born poor and grew up in the projects, 2 buildings down from my projects. And he was just like, I'm a great man and I need to get a lot of money so I can show the world how great I am. And everything he did fell flat on his face. I go off to college and he called me. He's like, hey, listen, I'm selling long distance now. Now I didn't bought this long distance at a fraction of the cost, and I'm going to resell these long distance cards and pyramid scheme, Cutco knives, and I'm going to be a collector. I'm going to start my own collection agency, and I'm going to buy all this debt for a couple. I'm going to buy $1 million of debt worth $1,000, and I get all these numbers, and I call these people, and I get to pocket it. He had all these good. I'm going to be a day trader, and I'm sure I ain't spoke to him in a day. I'm sure he's knee deep in NFTs and Bitcoin right now because that's right up his alley. But he always fucking failed. I mean, he would be better off if he just worked an entry-level job. He would have greater wealth, but he never had nothing. Right? But he was dating this girl, and this girl, he pissed her off, did this girl wrong. And the girl said to him in all sincerity, I would slash your tires, but I know you would never recover. She knew she was dating this guy. She loved dude with all her heart. He broke her heart. And she was like, this dude is such a struggle. He used to live, his struggle was a person. And she was like, I'd slash your tires, but I know you'd never recover. So normally she was an educated, semi-affluent black woman. So she normally the type bust windows and slash tires, but she was like, you so broke down. That's how black people are. There's certain shit we just don't do. Certain things that other people do that we just can't afford to do, right? So we have to be radical. It's a basic survival mechanism, meaning that we have to understand things at their core. We can't do like white people. Back to blue, looking at the surface of the police. The police are here to protect and serve, and if you obey the laws, and if you comply with the police, you have nothing to fear. That's a surface conclusion based off a surface interpretation, superficial. Black people, you're radical. You're like, whoa, I know that's all the rhetoric, and I know they got uniforms, and they got little pamphlets, and they read me my Miranda rights, and there's this constitution that protects me. There's all this shit on the surface. But when I look deep, when I look beyond the surface, the police are an occupying force here to protect the status quo and are a constant threat to me, whether I am law-abiding or not. Right? So when we draw surface conclusions, I will go to the military, I will serve my country, and I will be a veteran. And veterans are held in high esteem in American culture. And then veterans did that, came back from fighting a war for America and got lynched. Black men joined the military, black women joined the military, higher rates of assault, higher rates of court martials, higher rates of dishonorable discharge. But if you're a radical, you wouldn't join the fucking military. If you joined the military and became radical within the military, you would understand all this surface shit. What's written on the top, what's resting on the surface is not what is reality. So you have to be radical. And just being radical, all revolutionaries are radical, but not all radicals are revolutionary. There are right-wing radicals. There are authoritarian radicals. There are elite radicals. Radical is simply someone who has a fundamental understanding, who does not accept or observe what is on the surface. Right? And the reason certain groups become radical because the only way to change, the only way to affect fundamental reality is to accept and acknowledge, comprehend fundamental reality. And now here's the thing I have to tell y'all, because this is where I get in trouble. This is where people start coming hard in the paint against Bro Diallo. Simply because acknowledging reality isn't the same thing as accepting, submitting to, or supporting reality. Let me say that one more time, because this is where I get in trouble. People get so mad at me. Acknowledging reality isn't the same as accepting, submitting to, or supporting reality. People get mad at me when I say the Democratic and Republican parties aren't the same thing. They're not the same. Ain't no difference between Democrats and Republicans. I say, well, there are stark differences over decades. Oh, you support the Democrat. You're just a Democrat. Never said I was a Democrat. To this day, people just come on my line. Yeah, you Democrat. You stinking dirty Democrat. You're a Democrat. Not a Democrat. Not a registered Democrat. Don't vote Democrat. But people. Now, I've been voting since 1992 in the presidential elections. And I reluctantly, disgustedly voted for a Democrat once in all those cycles. So in presidential election, I've never voted for a Republican, voted for a Democrat once. But simply acknowledging reality is not an accepting. So when a lot of times, even outside of politics, when I simply say, hey, this is what is evidently true. This is reality. This is what the facts, this is what the evidence supports. Like being a radical, being a revolutionary. Now, they have a very fondness for guns. And I say, well, guns are not a threat to tyranny. Now, I know they say, well, we need guns to fight government tyranny. But the history, the numbers do not support that guns are a bulwark or an obstruction to tyranny. In fact, they might help advance tyranny. Guns do not keep you safe. Guns do not keep you safe in your home. When you look at people who have guns and people who don't have guns, there is no statistical difference between the